Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanum pakhair ragale ni hao chunashume washmale ohio gozaimas guten morgen hola bonjour privyat kaifal and a very amazing khushamadi to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside the very handsome Shazad Khan and the very pretty Maha Makhdoom. Hello Maha, how are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And you do look very handsome the last couple of days,
Thank
making
you
an
very
effort.
much.
I noticed while I was gone, you started dressing better.
No, it's not that. Well, I certainly assumed by my own self that, since you went to England and
Yeah.
there's quite a lot of shopping, people
Oh,
go to
okay.
Debenhams, Bullring, and, stuff like that. So I was just thinking of being a bit competitive on those terms.
Good. No, that's
What about
perfect.
you? Did you really go shopping in England or you
No,
didn't
I
get
didn't.
time?
No, I didn't get time
But you
this
still
time.
look very amazing.
Thank you very much. It's about mixing and matching, right?
And I can still see that there are a few new changes in your wardrobe.
Yeah, the earrings are new today, actually. So
Yeah.
well done.
Thank you very much. And for all
astute.
those people who are out there and are actually trying to figure out what happened to our set,
Yes.
well, the previous set broke down, so we actually had to upload a newer one, and this is why, we are, because we didn't want it to miss out on you guys. So we were like,
Exactly.
whatever it is, whatever we have, we're
The
going to
show
go on
must
it.
go on, as they say.
Yes.
And also, it's good to change it up and keep it fresh and new as well. But we have a wonderful show lined up for you today. I'm very excited about it. I was doing a lot of research as well, so I hope all the questions come out right. Because what we've realized is that when I do too much research, I can't form my questions because there's too much information. But before we do that, we have our top stories. So let's look at what's happening within Pakistan and the rest of the world.
Let's do it. Good morning.
The federal cabinet has approved a proposal for the reduction in prices on various drugs and notifying their maximum retail price in line with the drug policy pricing policy.
Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has offered to connect CPEC with Shanghai Cooperation Organization's 6 approved routes to link the Eurasian landmass.
And Pakistan and China have signed executive program of cultural agreement for further consolidating cultural relations and promoting people-to-people contact between the two states.
Moving up with amusement park where I love to spend time, the world's second oldest amusement park was lit up to celebrate its 175th anniversary in Denmark. I still wonder whether people do rely on these rides or not.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, I love amusement parks. And streetwear has ruled the opening day of the New York Men's Fashion Week, with designers taking cues from the styles inspired by hip-hop, skate, and retro 90s fashion.
See, and I always was the kind of guy who used to wear such clothes, and you were always against the idea of why do you wear jeans, why do you wear this? But it's all right. All right, ladies and
You sound like
gentlemen,
such a child.
these were the top stories. But since we just talked about fashion, I think we're going to introduce a little bit more of the streetwear too as well. And I
Yeah.
think we need to do that. There needs to be a day where we can be who we are. Outside these ties and bow ties and whatnot.
No, that's true, but I like a bit of a formal look though sometimes. But I don't know, each to their own.
But since it's winters over here, it's already wedding season, so you're wearing suits like in the evening too as
yes.
well, and then in the morning, and you actually have to be very careful in the evening because that's the same suit you're going to wear in the morning too. So, okay, but ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens.
Okay,
But
yes.
other than that, Maha, this is how I wanted to start the show today. How did you start your television career, and how do you think that you've actually had an impact on people who are out there?
Okay, that's a massive question, but I'm going to keep it very brief. I started my career with this show, with this channel as well, and it was something I was always interested in.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've noticed is that within Pakistan, it's hard to sustain it, or it's hard to kind of have that longevity, and there's some people that have really made a mark on the stage.
Exactly, and this is how I'm going to refer to my own question,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. And that is that when I actually started television, I thought that, the very moment I'm going to be on television, I'm going to be a superstar.
Yes.
And it's going to be a hit and whatnot, not knowing that there are people with choices and preferences and audiences who want to see the way they want to see the world too as well.
Yeah.
And then, when you gradually progress, you make your mark, the content changes and you transform yourself into a quality package. I think this is when people realize you. But now the person who's actually sitting over here in the studio with us.
Very exciting.
We might not know about his early days, and this is the reason why we have actually got him on the show too as well. But the very moment he started his own show, he was a massive hit.
Yes.
From having Sheikh Rashid to from all of those top celebrities on his show, and then, well, I just don't want to give it away.
Yeah, exactly. I want to say stuff, but I feel like the introduction will give
She
it.
was so cool on television that I actually at times thought of asking for her number too as well, because she was just very superb and beautiful and very pretty.
And this person has been recognized on every platform from every industry, and even from the political sphere as well. Very much applauded. So that's a really massive thing to achieve in this country.
So
as well.
on television, I don't know how to say it. She's a she, and in normal life he's a he. So he's a writer. He's a film actor. He's working on some newer projects. He's working on water management, and he's just a great.
He keeps giving back
and
to
he's
us.
always been a mentor. He's always been there. Because what happens in television or in film industry is that if you're a senior, you kind of put your hands in the pocket and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm in my own zone. Don't jack my yam. But that's not how he is. I mean, he's a superb guy, and we're not going to give it away who he or she is, but I'm going to start my conversation so that you guys feel a bit anticipated. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, Shahzad. I'm very well, and thank you so much for having me on your show, Maha.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by Mr. Muhammad Ali Saleem, aka Begum Nawazish Ali. Hello once again, how are you? This is not what we were supposed to do. You were supposed to come out as Begum Nawazish Ali.
I know, but too much of an effort too early in the day. Really.
That's absolutely fine. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me over.
It's an absolute pleasure. But as Shahzad said, you really made waves. Everyone knows your work. You've done a great job. But let's start at the beginning, because we have viewers from all over the world that watch us who may not be aware. But how did you start your career?
Interesting enough, I started acting on Pakistan television when I was 9 years old.
Amazing.
And the first project I ever did on television was a project called Alif Be Pe. This was a children's show that was aired from Quetta. My father was posted in Quetta at that time. Sajjad Ahmed Saab was the producer, director of that show. And he asked me and my brother if we could act. We were interested in acting on TV. And of course, I have been since childhood the kind of person who does not say no.
Okay.
And I'm very adventurous like that. I like exploring stuff.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun. But professionally acting as a grown-up, I started, it's again a long time, about 20 years ago. This was in March 1998. And I basically started doing theatre with a theatre group known as Grips, Pakistan. This is actually a subsidiary of Grips Germany. It's a very old, very established theatre company in Germany, Grips. So we are the Pakistan chapter of it. And Yasmin Ismail Marhuma, who's a great actor on television from Tanhaiya, I'm sure you remember Vida.
Yeah.
And
just
Imran
dubbed
Aslam
it.
Saab, and Khalid Anam, Khalifa Sajiruddin, Faiza Qazi, Aisha Sheikh. This was my initial family.
Amazing.
They are the
These are the
people
people
who
who
taught
actually
me,
still rule the industry too.
groomed me, taught me a lot of things that and helped me become the person that I am today.
That's amazing. And what people to guide you through such a career as well. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
No, but going back in time, back in 1998 when it was your first ever, you were a debutant, right?
Yeah.
So, very sorry. But, back then, in those days, there wasn't really, a vibe which actually told you that, okay, go ahead, you can make this a career. So, what was the response you were getting from your family, or was it your father or mother who actually said, okay, Ali, whatever you want to do, go ahead, do it?
I have to say this. I am extremely lucky, very fortunate to have amazing parents who have supported me throughout my life and all my decisions. I never faced any opposition, from my family, and I only got support from them.
That's amazing.
And yes, Shahzad is absolutely right. Back in those times, acting wasn't really considered a very serious profession. People were expected to grow up to either become a doctor, or an engineer, or a lawyer, or those were serious professions. But I chose to become an actor because I wanted to be an actor since I was a kid.
Okay.
And, again, very fortunate. You see, in Pakistan, we did not have at that time to at all. Now we do have some institutions and colleges that are offering, diplomas and even degrees in production and filmmaking and acting. But at that time, we had nothing.
Okay.
So whatever you learned it from your seniors.
Okay.
It was always on-job training. And as I said, I was very blessed, very lucky that I got to work with some of the finest people in the industry. And then even if I did not work with them, you know, when I moved to Karachi when I was 17 years old, my first neighbor was Arshad Mahmood Saab, the
Okay.
famous composer and actor.
Yeah.
Tina Sani, you know.
Who were your neighbors?
Were my neighbors. Shakil
Wow.
Saab used to live in the upstairs apartment.
That's amazing.
Shakil Saab, you know, again,
Yeah.
a legendary actor of Pakistan.
Yeah.
So these were people, Saira Appa, Saira Kazmi, Rahat Saab, Rahat Kazmi. I mean, these were people who became, I would just go and sit with them.
That's amazing.
Nayyara Appa would come to record her songs, Nayyara Noor, and or Mehdi Hassan Saab would come to Arshad's studio.
Wow.
And I would just as a child, I would not even brush my teeth. I would wake up in the morning and I would head straight to Arshad's studio and I would sit there. Even Arshad Saab would tell me, Ali, get out, get lost, leave, you know, I'm busy. And I would be so heat, I would not move from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for me, all of that was education. You know, just listening to these people talk.
So you were shadowing them so that you could
I was,
learn.
yeah, exactly. And I was learning from them.
That's amazing. But you know, you did get. I'm from what I've also looked at, but you did get kind of a main line into it when you did Big Brother 4. Is that correct? When you were a contestant, or how did you feel that played a
Boss
role?
came in much later.
Yeah,
really.
I think it
came
was
in
Begum
much
Nawaz Ali first.
later. Begum also came in. I mean, considering that way, it came in later.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I started. So initially, I was doing theatre, as I said, and then I obviously branched into television as an actor.
Yeah.
So my first major TV play was a play called Salma Aur Sitare, which was directed by Alia Imam, and Rubina Ashraf was playing this tyrant of a woman who hates men,
Okay.
and I was playing her little servant boy who, you know, faces all the wrath of her, you know, anti-male sentiments. And this boy is very feminine, you know, he's very effeminate and very scared, and you know, that kind of a little boy. So it was a comedy, and it was a lot. Again, Rubina Ashraf is a big name. She is definitely one of the most seasoned actresses we have in Pakistan. So I learned a lot from that interaction also.
Okay, so let me rephrase that then. Let me fix that. So when did you get into script writing then? Because it wasn't just acting that you were interested in.
So as I was acting, you know, in year 2000, I still remember it was the Kodak Film Awards in Lahore that Seema Tahir Interflow group was organizing. And I was asked to do 4 skits in that award show, in that movie awards.
All right.
And I did those 4 skits. So when I went to take my check from Interflow, M. Nadeem J, who was one of the producers on the show, while giving me my check, he said, you know, Ali, I think you can write. Have you ever thought about the idea of writing scripts? And I said, no, I haven't. And what makes you think that I can write? He says, no, you speak so well, and you're confident, and you speak good English, and you speak good Urdu. So I think you can become a good script writer. Why don't you give it a try? So at that time, they used to have 3 days on PTV World. And they used to do a show called High Notes, which was a music program.
Okay.
So he said, we have this show, and we're looking for a new host, and we're looking for a script writer. So interestingly enough, I recommended the name of Nadia Hussain, who's now a big name in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And Nadia was my neighbor, and she was Tina Appa's niece.
Okay.
So we made a small team. I used to write the scripts, and it was a lot of fun for me because I would just go sit on the computer, and within half an hour, 40 minutes, I would finish writing one entire episode.
Okay.
And in those days, they used to give me 3,000 rupees for it,
Okay.
for one script. It was a lot of money for me. So, you know, writing 4 scripts in a month just for that High Notes program was enough pocket money for me to take my friends out. You know, those were good old days when money had a lot of worth.
Yeah.
And, you know, and to go for recordings with Nadia, you know, we used to go to the studio. Nadia would read out my script. I would write the script. So you know, it was a lot of fun. Then I started doing Rivaj, which is another magazine show, again on PTV World. Then there was Starbox, another magazine show on So I started scripting a lot of magazine shows.
Okay.
Then I started scripting award shows. You know, Basant ka show, Valentine Day show. Ab to khair pabandi lag gayi hai. Now we don't want to. We've banned that. We don't want to talk about it. But at that time we used to
But we're going
have
to.
We're not
Valentine
giving
Day
it all
shows on
away
PTV.
right now. We're not giving it all away right now. But ladies and gentlemen, we're still here. We're in conversation with Mr. Muhammad Ali Saleem. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll start from Basant again.
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody who just got tuned into PT World. You watching World this morning alongside Muhammad Maktoum and Shazad Khan. And today we are in conversation with Mr. Muhammad Ali Saleem, a.k.a. Begum Nawaz Ali. And we were talking about Basants and all of those small festivals which used
Good
to happen.
festivals that used to happen in Pakistan, and I remember, you know, how there used to be so much excitement. Everybody from Karachi used to go to Lahore to celebrate Basant, and unfortunately now I see that we do not celebrate, you know, those festivals anymore, and it breaks my heart really to see that, because I feel that there is so much misery around us these days, and somehow the other it feels almost like, you know, as if it's a sin to be happy. You know, the order of the day is to be miserable and sad and angry, which needs to change.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, that you were part of that, you know, when you were, with all the work that you did, especially with your later work as well, it was about, you know, making people laugh. It was finding lighter stuff, but still, you know, with messages and meanings.
I don't want to sound boastful, Maha, but I'm probably, I think, the only actor in Pakistan for sure who's played a man, who's played a woman, and who's played a transgender on screen. So I've covered all three genders, and I do want to take full credit for that, and of course give credit to my producers and people who had the faith in giving me a chance.
Okay,
to do that.
perfect. And so that leads us on to the next question that I was going to ask, because you know, like you mentioned, you had a lot of support growing up. You know, people around you were very supportive. But at points in your career, you have had to deal with some controversies and some issues. So how did you manage to overcome all of those? Because normally when someone hits a controversy or a scandal, it's normally game over. And you know, within Pakistan, I think people have that image that it's the end.
And
but
I'm sorry that, you know, I'm getting a bit more personal, but what were those controversies and those problems which you actually had to face?
You know, I think one problem that became apparent was that Begum Nawaz Ali became a runaway success, you know, and she became such a phenomenon in Pakistan, not just Pakistan. I mean, she was featured on the front page of New York Times. Times magazine included Begum Nawaz Ali in the 200 most influential people in the world in 2006, which was a big thing. I mean,
it still is a big thing,
Nobody could expect that. Nobody was expecting, not even myself. I mean, I didn't know that Begum Nawaz Ali would become such a phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
And I think somewhere down the road, I mean, there are elements in our country, people, you know, whose mindset is a little conservative, not a little, a lot conservative. And, you know, fears were that, you know, by making Begum Nawaz Ali such a star, maybe we are sending a wrong signal to our children. Maybe tomorrow my son will get up and he will say that, Daddy, I want to wear a sari and I want to be on TV. So maybe we're setting the wrong tradition and we're, you know, creating a wrong example.
Right.
So yes, there were people who were not very happy with my fame or my success, and yes, there were problems, and yes, there were hurdles that were created in my way. But you asked me how I overcame them.
Yeah.
So I would only say one thing, and I take great pride in saying this, that I am a believer. I believe. And firstly and foremost, I believe in Allah. I believe in the divine. I believe in you know, natural justice. I believe in goodness. And I try and be a good person myself. And I do believe that if you are good and if you are correct, you know, in the longer run, you will prevail. So things, you know, negative things or hurdles may cause temporary delays in your path, but it does not mean that your journey ends there. So, and you know, when you feel that there is a wall in front of you, don't go and bang your head against the wall. Change your course. Life is too beautiful to be wasted on negativity.
Thank you very much for saying all of these beautiful things, and not just because that you're sitting right in front of me that I'm saying it.
Yes.
But Ma, to my experience and to my knowledge, whenever I've seen this gentleman, he's been very gentle. Well, you know, this is how his nature is. But you'll always get a positive vibe. You know, there are people who'll make faces. There are people who will come up with a sentiment where you know that, you know, they might not be very comfortable with you. But he's the sort of guy, he's going to put his hand on your shoulder and he'll be like, okay, you know, which way are we going? Are we going this way?
That's
yes,
nice.
okay, let's go this way. So I think, and this is a way to teach the newer generations that, you know, okay, this is the way, this is how we should work. But then, you know, the feeling is that we need more people like you to lead us from the front. And
we need more.
And this is what happens in our industry, that they then just kind of make sure that they are a wall right in front of you. And then, you know, when it's a discourse, it might take a little longer, but please stick to the line.
Okay, so now, you know, we were talking about the backlash you received because of some, you know, more conservative line of
I
thinking.
made it to the Taliban hit list 6 years in a row.
I know.
Something right.
I mean, like, that's really scary at
Yeah.
the same time. But how did Begum Nawazish Ali come into being? Because I really want to know, how did you...
Okay, so in a nutshell, I
Yes.
used to impersonate Mohtama Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Mohtama Benazir Bhutto Shaheed.
Yes.
She was my leader. I love her. I love Mohtama Benazir Bhutto Shaheed and what she stood for, what she represented. The fact that she was the first woman to become a head of government in any Islamic, any
Yeah.
Muslim country.
Yeah.
You know, and she was a very brave person. She was intelligent, and as I said, as a young child, I was in love with her.
Okay.
And then after growing up, I did have the honor of meeting her, and she was, she praised me, which was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
We won't get into that, but so I was Benazir on theatre, I was Benazir on television, and I was in Lahore visiting my friend Nadeem Beg, the director who's made Jawani Phir Nahi
Yeah.
Aani, a
Yeah.
Punjabi
Great guy.
song, and I was staying at his house. And he used to record a program for PTV at that time, a film program. I'm forgetting the name, something cinema. And they were doing a special episode on Madam Noor Jahan.
Okay.
And Dr. Umar Adil, who's an orthopedic surgeon, very well-known name
Yes.
from Lahore, who's also been Madam Noor Jahan's consultant. He came to speak about Madam Noor Jahan.
Okay.
And Nadeem Beg introduced me to Dr. Umar Adil. And Dr. Umar Adil looked at me and he says, Nadeem, who does not know Ali?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of yours, Ali, and it's a pleasure to meet you. But I have a little thing with you, a thing that I've been wanting to say to you for the longest. And I'm like, what is it, Dr. Saab? And he goes, Ali, every time I see you on TV, I think to myself that, you should get rid of this white dupatta and green shalwar kameez, and you should be in glamorous saris.
Yeah.
Because when
Okay.
I see you, I see a diva.
Okay.
I see you dressed up as a glamorous doll. I see a Madam Noor Jahan in you.
Okay.
And when he said those words, I was like floored. I was like, no, this is, it's too good to be true. And, so I got really interested in this conversation with him. And so we sat, and after he recorded his interview, I wanted to know more. And I said, Dr. Saab, but what will I call this woman? And who will be this woman? And, and he said, and, he came up with this name. And he said, you could call her Begum Nawazish Ali. And, have you heard that Noor Jahan song, Nawazish Karam Shukriya Meharbani? He said, that should be your theme song.
Amazing.
And, and this idea was so amazing, and I loved it so much, and I believed in it so much. I went back to Karachi, and I made a concept, and I gave it to one of the private channels. And they said, oh, brilliant concept, and we'll do it. Anyway, it took me 2 years before Aaj TV came into the picture.
Okay.
And because Nadeem Beg was present in that conversation, he was
Okay.
there, he was part of that conversation. Nadeem called me, he said, Ali, you made that concept, where is it? I said, somewhere in my inbox. He says, just forward it to me.
Okay.
And I forwarded it to him, and then he called me for a meeting with the management at Aaj TV, and I went for my meeting. And first meeting, they said, we love the concept, we want to start it. When can we start it?
And it
Okay.
was on the covers of Time magazine.
But
too,
I
ladies and
have to
gentlemen.
mention the two names I have to say.
Yes.
Makhdoom Amin Fahim Marhoom, he's not alive anymore. Because you see, when I call